Us all, I'm telling you. I've enjoyed working with Zach at the drug court, so he'll be able to tell us everything they're doing over there. Okay, it looks like everybody's signing in. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to have a little intro here, and then we'll go to our data. I wanted to make sure you all knew that Paul Chapman would be on this call. He's our Executive Director of Restore Hope. He's what I like to say, the genius behind this madness, and has been with us from the very beginning, and has an amazing story to tell about his involvement. But we're honored to have him on today, and he'll help me with the panel. So thanks, Paul, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I'd just like to, welcome you, everybody that's on here today, to Crawford County 100 Families Alliance. And, we're really experiencing some hard times now with this second wave of COVID. And we see, especially those of us in these spots where we see these families struggling, it is really escalated. It's hit the children hard because sometimes they're in school, sometimes they're not. There's some trauma involved, I think, with the children, just from experiencing the fear that they have of COVID. But our families are dealing with hunger, insecurity, utilities are being turned off and on as they lose their jobs, then get a new job. School counselors are making a tremendous amount of referrals for us as they see the family struggling and children at school, which has really been amazing for us to have that partnership. We even are having a lot of people come in and drop in our office downtown Van Buren. They just drop in and say, hey, we heard you guys could help. The judges are referring to us, the police departments. So we are really getting out in the community. CASA is getting referrals to us, DCFS, Monarch 61. We just got feelers all over the county. I just wanted to tell everybody that's on this today that I am so proud of Crawford County. We may be a small county, but the innovations that I see coming from every provider, from individuals, from the courts, prosecutors, the sheriff, the police chief. I never make a call to one of these people, any provider in Crawford County, that they tell me no, flat out. Now, sometimes they'll say, now, Douglas, let's wait a few minutes on that. Let's see what would work best. But they're always open to helping people. And that's the bottom line. We're all working together, going in the same direction. So I just wanted to tell you guys how proud you need to be of our county. And I think when you hear our panel today, you're going to see firsthand how we are shining in the state as far as innovations, and we're being copied on a lot of the things that we are working out as processes. So let's move on. Unless, Paul, you have
I'd echo what Charlotte said. I have the benefit of working with a lot of different communities, and you can see, every community is a little different. And I would say of Crawford County, I would echo exactly what Charlotte said is you have a real sense of in it together. Let me contrast that with a large county, which I happen to live in and have done direct service in for a long time. There's not that community feel. And also there's a lot more money. There are a lot more problems, but a lot more money. And so there's also a sense that I could just fix it within my own agency. And I don't see that in Crawford County. there's kind of this realization that if we're going to fix something, we're going to have to do it together. And I would say, just as an outsider, reflecting on and working with and admiring many leaders in the county, I point to, as I travel around, I point a lot of folks to the innovations that are going on there and the way that you work together. So anyway, I'm proud to know you and proud to get to work on some of these things with you.
Great. Well, we're going to turn it over to Karen, and she's going to show you just a little bit of our data. Our data is extensive that we collect every month, and we use that data to change our process, to realize where we're short, realize where our gaps are, and to be able to reach out to the community and tell them where they are doing a great job as well. So Karen, let us have it.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to turn yourself. Sorry, Charlotte and I are in the same room. So will you turn your sound down on your laptop? You're probably getting feedback. Okay. Hello?
Okay, I'm working on it.
You know how to turn your sound down?
I can't get to it. You want to do it? You want me to do it?
Just mute one of them.
I've muted.
It's not that.
Speaker volume.
Try this.
You're muted now, Karen.
I'm unmuted now.
Hello? Okay. You're unmuted? Can you hear me okay now?
Gotcha.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, sorry about that, guys. I knew it was going to be an issue because we usually try not to be in the same room when we do this. So you know a little bit about Restore Hope's mission, which is to reduce the rate of incarceration and the need for foster care. And we do that through a collective impact model using crisis to career, which helps families holistically while utilizing existing community resources. And we use a collaborative case management system so that not only are we collaborating in an alliance where we meet together and discuss things together and come up with new innovative ideas, but we're also collaborating on an individual client level. And we use HopeArc, this collaborative case management system, in order to have this collaboration on each individual, each family that is served, that the work can happen amongst many organizations being on the same care team and working towards the same goals for families. 100 Families engages community partners, trains agencies on these collaborative case management systems, and recruits case managers to respond whenever a family is in crisis. Crawford County's numbers they currently have 136 active families in Crawford County. 8 new families were enrolled during the month of December. 331 children are currently being served through the 136 active families. And you'll see as far as primary providers, these are what we consider the primary case manager on a case that just makes sure that that the client is being regularly updated. So we have up-to-date data on how their situation is, those kinds of things. And then we have all of these other organizations that are also on a care team. But you can see that Adult Ed has quite a few of our families that they're working with and enrolling and doing the role of the case manager. Restore Hope, of course, does, and so does Western Arkansas Child Development and the Guidance Center, as well as a few others. CASA is also on the the primary provider chart since they enroll as well. And you can see the child welfare case types for the majority of the families in Crawford County. These are families that don't have child welfare cases, but are in crisis. So this is exciting because we're going way upstream and catching families that at the moment of their crisis and keeping them from going further into crisis, but helping them to remedy that crisis so that their families can be preserved and not have to go through the trauma of separation and all of those things. So we're pretty proud of that. And we continue, of course, to work with foster care cases and protective services cases with DCFS as well. Our primary referral sources are DCFS and, of course, the courts and the public school system. You can kind of see how those go. This slide also shows collective impact based off of our 4 and 5 on our case management scale. So that is stability or thriving. So whenever families came in and enrolled into 100 families, whether they started at CASA or Adult Ed or the Guidance Center, wherever they began, only 11% of them had a home that they could afford and pay rent on that was decent and safe. So you can see that we've made a huge impact there and have helped many families obtain safe, affordable housing. We've helped families so that they can pay their bills, which is that financial assistance category. Only 7% were able to pay their bills. And employment has been huge. So this is the measurement of how many were full-time employed at intake, which was only 20%, and then at outcome, which is 44%. So even more than that, we've been able to get into part-time employment. And so you can see that we have had a tremendous impact on helping families to get to a place of stability in their lives. This is another chart that kind of shows we do go over this one every single month. So this is our data that we keep is very, very thorough, and we want to be always transparent and accountable to you, the community, with what is going on in the initiative, because it is your community collaborative. And so you'll see on the left-hand side, the bright red is crisis. That gray area is the 2 to 3s on a case management scale, which means they're at risk or stabilizing. The purple is stabilized and the dark blue is thriving. And so what happens is at intake, which is the top chart, you'll have more families that are in crisis and less families that are stabilized and thriving. And then as of December 31st, which these are families we're still working with and we still hope to make more improvements in their lives, but as of December 31st, this is where they're at right now. And so you'll see that one of the areas of crisis we greatly reduced is that 66% of the families that walked in and enrolled in 100 families had no income from any source. And that went down to 31% as of December 31st. So we're super proud of the fact that families are getting employment, which helped them to be able to take care of their families. And then, of course, you'll see the increase in both stability and thriving as far as full-time employment. And so we have very specific definitions around each of these areas so that no matter where they are in their intake process or at what organization they are being worked on, we have the same exact definitions for what is stable and thriving and can have really accurate data on these things. And you'll see housing is another big area that a lot of improvements have been made as well. And that's because, our case managers and the care teams work so hard together to help people move out of crisis. You'll see at intake in Crawford County, might surprise you, 27% of the families that came in at enrollment were homeless. And so that had gone down to 7%. That is such a huge difference because we're able to find, some sort of housing for these families and get them the services they need so that we don't have a lot of homeless families in Crawford County. And I'm super proud of the team and the community for doing that. I wanted to shift and provide some specific data around the topic today. So we did some data analysis just on the number of our clients that have been to jail or prison. And in Crawford County, over half of the parents that are struggling or in crisis have been to jail or prison. Also, 66% of those parents that we've served that have been arrested were first arrested before they turned 24. I thought that was really interesting to know as well. And then also convicted of a felony, 1 out of 4 of the parents that we work with have been convicted of a felony. So you can see that this topic is very, very relevant today as we try to help these families move forward. And so I'll hand it back over to Charlotte and the panel.
Okay, am I on? Okay. We're going to start bringing up our panelists right now into a spotlight, and we will start with some questions that have to do specifically with each of their expertise, and we'll introduce each of the panelists kind of as we go instead of as a big group. And I'm gonna, as I pull you all up, and I want to publicly apologize to Sheriff DeMonte. His name was misspelled on my flyer. I had COVID last week. I'm blaming everything on COVID, so
that's fine.
I apologize for that. I've known him forever, and I knew how to spell it. It just
not a problem. Everybody knows.
All right. So, Paul, do you want to start off with? Debbie says we need to smile. Debbie Faubus. Oh me.
Yeah,
I'm going to pin her down in a minute.
We better do what Dr. Debbie says.
Yes.
Life will be better.
We all have learned that.
Yeah, well, thanks all for agreeing to be on the panel and talk about community justice innovations. I'd like to just start and, every profession looks at issues, sometimes the same individual or same situation, but you do it from a different position with a different set of rules. So if we could just briefly, I think from your perspective in 2022, the pandemic's changed a lot of things. Crime's up in many communities. Child welfare cases are up. Although we had a drop because I think we didn't have contact with mandatory reporters with schools. And so, we've got ever-changing situations and what seems to be maybe a new normal for the next few years. But from your perspective, could you just share with the group what you think 2022 holds, either from your bench or from your office, And that way, I think we can kind of set a context for, I think, what the community, from your perspective, might be dealing with this calendar year. And Judge Baker, you're first on my screen, or Charlotte, do you want to call?
No, yeah, I'll call them in the order that I've got them on the flyer. So just
Right, okay.
for ease. So Judge Baker, Judge Baker is the district court judge, and really the first judge that we started working with. And adult ed, Debbie Falbus was a big part of that partnership as well. So Judge, what are you seeing for the coming year?
Well, just when we think that we're returning back to normal, we all get a surprise and discover that maybe we're actually already living in the new normal. We just didn't realize it. Before I get into that, Charlotte, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for me personally and for our court. You have been such a great resource to us, and your connection to Paul has made my life so much better and easier. I really do appreciate all that you've done. There is one problem with your retirement. I didn't sign off on it, and so I'm going to need you to keep showing up for work. But other than that,
hey, Judge, you said something good about me. I'm going to clip that out with your permission and send it to my wife, just so she knows that
I thought you were going to say
a little better.
I thought you were going to say I'm going to sign off now, so that nobody has a chance to contradict anything. No, I do appreciate y'all's help. Through Dr. Falbus, who y'all have been talking about a little bit. We've realized that there are alternatives that work to jailing people. And she was keeping a tally, and I'll let her speak for herself here in a few minutes if she'd like. But at one point, I know that we had had over 1,000 people that under traditional sentencing structures would have gone to jail, that she diverted into programs where they could better themselves, provide more for their family, and through her office, make contacts with these other agencies with things about housing and food and transportation, education, all the things that we need people to embrace to become more successful and self-sufficient and avoid the court system. So in 2022, I think that we plan to continue to try to improve those channels of communication, look for new partners that will give us even more alternatives than we have already. And my hope is that I'm going to be able to continue to increase the number of people that we send through these alternatives. Instead of it leveling off, let's look for new ways to use it more and more.
Good, great. Zach Throneberry is with the prosecutor's office, but Zach, would I say that you are the liaison from the prosecutor to the drug court, possibly? And Judge McCune can't be here today, so he's going to speak as to what's upcoming in this new year.
I think to kind of go off what Judge Baker said, I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out going forward. If we go back to everything is online, that's a struggle for our drug court, because one of the big parts of that is holding these people accountable. And if you can't see them face to face, and if they can just get online or say they were online or they had a technical difficulty, that's what we struggle with. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that is moving forward. If ACC shuts down, that's a large part of what we do, and keeping track of people, and that'll be hard. I know as far as drug court's concerned, I think it's easiest to say, or best to say, that we're evolving. Judge McCune came in last year, and we went to conference, we being Judge McCune, myself, and then Aaron Edwards from the Public Defender's Office, and realized we kind of needed to change what we were doing in some aspects. We were sending a lot of people to jail that maybe that's not the right answer. And, one of the things that opened our eyes is that some individuals, not all, look at that as a break. And it's more of a break than it is a punishment. And if you can't motivate them that way, we got to find another way to do that. And so we're working, and it's a work in progress in our drug court currently, I think would be fair to say, in how to get better about that, and how to make individualized decisions about how to motivate somebody to do better, to be held accountable, to make changes in their life. And so I think that's the biggest question going forward, is where are we going to be as far as meeting with people? And then, Ms. Douglas, we met through that process. I met you through drug court, and then Dr. Fabus in adult ed, and we brought all you guys in. You've been a big help, but if we can't meet, we can't use you guys. And so that's going to be our concern. So the biggest concern is meeting in person, and then just getting better to assess what our participants need and to keep them motivated to make those changes that are needed to be successful.
Exactly.
I agree.
A quick follow-up, if I could. Just, last year as we were on and off and being able to meet in person, did y'all see, are you able to kind of assess the impact to client positive growth or?
Yes and no. I think maybe try to watch my words here. We have individuals that want to do as little as possible and have gotten by with doing as little as possible. And we're really trying to change that. And if they can sit on the couch and do a Zoom, that's what they're going to do. We got to get them up and we got to get them out and get them active and doing things. And so I do believe, now there's nothing that I can point to necessarily that I can change. But now that we've got people in, we can talk to them. The judge can talk to them because they can come into court, and Charlotte's there, and we've got a lady that recently had a baby that's in our drug court program, and we have resources we didn't have in the past, and so we'll refer her over 100 families, and Charlotte's able to get her set up with, I believe she had housing, but she didn't have a car seat and some of those necessities that she needed, and so I think with everybody being involved and able to get together, it's a whole lot easier to get together face to face and to make those decisions than it is, say, a Zoom meeting like this.
Okay, let's move on to Judge Medlock, and he runs, is it Circuit Court number 1?
Two.
Okay. And enjoyed working with him in 2 different courts, but how has kind of this new normal affected your courts?
Well, I think Zach said something that makes good sense for me. I only been here 19 years and I'm still evolving. So I'm not a favor of Zoom to begin with, and I hope that we're not going back to that. I was visiting with some folks last night, and we may be living with the new normal. I'm optimistic that maybe the new version of this virus is more like a flu and not as serious as the first version. So maybe we're going to have to trip back into the Zoom world on a continuous basis. I'm in between thought about how we proceed with that. Just kind of seen a lot of COVID cases, personally and with folks, and how different people were affected, et cetera, and different views about how we deal with that. One of the things that actually, I'll steal a little Judge Settle's thunder here, but we have to sort out what we do with the courts in terms of how can we keep people safe, what's our policies and ideas about wearing masks and all that sort of thing. And so that's going to continue till we have a grip on what to do. And our Supreme Court has now told us, you guys decide what you need to do locally. Well, obviously that's going to be different for every judge. I mean, some of us may require masks, some may not. I don't require a mask if you've been vaccinated, but I can't ask that question. So it's kind of everybody's on their honor if they want to wear one or not. As far as the next year and what we do with 100 families, it's a learning process about what you guys can do and what you guys offer. I mean,
AAC. Yes.
Pardon me. Somebody said something. I didn't get that.
It's,
And
ahead.
so we're constantly figuring out there are some things that you can help families with or help children, et cetera, such as employment, housing, et cetera. And I think I maybe even told Charlotte this story or someone the other day. I had somebody in court that had been out of housing and actually kids are in foster care. And she said, well, I'm going to get a house. And I'm like, well, how are you going to pull that off? And she pointed out in the courtroom, said, that girl right there is going to help me. So again, it's figuring out what you guys have to offer and how you may be able to help families. And we've kind of, in both my juvenile court and that's truancy delinquency court and DCFS or abuse and neglect court, foster care, if you want to call it that. We've decided on most of those difficult cases to just refer parents to 100 families, just basically get an assessment and see what there is, as opposed to us figuring out you need to go do this. You just go up there and tell them what your problem is and see if they can help you. And so hopefully we'll get better and better at that. I mean, I think we're off to a good start. We've figured out, you know, part of the issue is what somebody said earlier, is identifying. And, you know, depending on how much information I get from these individuals, parents, kids, etc., then that's going to make a difference as to, you know, how I identify them and send them for the right help or whatever. And so hopefully this coming year, we'll continue to get better at it and kind of get focused at the ones that need resources and need help and keep you guys busy.
We appreciate it. Judge Settles, I'd love to hear from you and what you think, you know, based on you've been there a short amount of time, but how's it working for you to come in during COVID, and what does it look like going forward?
Well, as you said, I'm new to the bench, and one of the things that we've struggled with COVID, particularly with my courtroom space, is the size and how do we keep people safe, like Judge Medlock said. But we're working on that, so I'm hopeful this year we're going to have some exciting things moving forward in terms of in enlarging the courtroom potentially, so that we can provide a larger space, you know, for people, so that we can ensure safety. But as a new judge, I'm a strong believer in what you're doing, Charlotte, and as well as Debbie. I just think it's wonderful that you're taking a whole person approach, really, in helping families, and not just not how just do we punish, but how can we help people not need punishment in the future. So I've really struggled with my cases as to how can I incorporate that, because I don't have specialty court. Judge Medlock and Judge McKeon both have specialty courts that really fits in well. But one of the things I've been looking at and talking with the other judges about is the potential for having a mental health court in Crawford County. And that would be a specialty court that I think that 100 Families First could be very helpful and effective in helping people get back on their feet. So that's one thing that I'm looking at. Also, child support. I do have a large child support docket, and I think that might be an area that would be real beneficial for y'all to be in and incorporate, because, you know, those struggling too, or we wouldn't be having them in for child support court. So those are a couple of the things that I'm looking at for this year, and I'm going to be hopeful and optimistic that we're going to get through this new variant and hopefully put COVID behind us, at least on the situation that we're in currently.
Okay. All right. That sounds great. And of course, we're willing to jump in wherever we're needed. So we've thought about child support court, and I'd be excited to look at that. Sheriff DeMonte,
Yeah.
We've got a lot going with you, and let's save all your innovations for a little bit later. But just tell us a little bit about how COVID is kind of, or, you know, going forward into the 2022, how's it looking with your jail situation?
Well, we are at maximum, almost maximum with our jail right now. And as far as prisoners go, we're doing a mass testing today. We started last night and today. I do have several pods that are suffering from some type of illness, and we'll find out actually how many we have that are infected. Of course, I'm mandated by the, Arkansas Department of Health and AAC with certain rules and regulations on what we have to do and how we have to segregate. And Judge Baker has really been instrumental in helping us to get some people out on bonds, lowering bonds and of that sort. So that helps us a lot. We had a lot of programs that we wanted to implement in the past and we couldn't because of the COVID, which these programs require us to bring people from the outside. So that kind of stopped us from being able to do that. But I do have a lot of programs that we want to institute, several of them that we're looking to institute in the future. I'm all for the mental health court with Judge Settle, because there's a lot of people I have in here that they don't need to be here in jail. They need mental health help. So again, I'm mandated by what they tell me to do and how to do it, and it's we're starting to see our numbers in the jail rise, and I'll know in a few days actually how many I have. So.
Okay. Well, it's a challenge to everybody. We've got a new prosecutor, Rinda Baker, and I'd like to hear from her. We talked about several things last night that, she sees as being some possibilities through her office. So kind of how has, just to start off, how has, COVID affected your ability to do your job, and what do you see going forward? And then we'll get to the innovations in a minute.
Oh, Charlotte, every day brings a new opportunity to search for a new solution. And with that being said, it seems to be happening every day. I think one of the biggest struggles we have is we do have a lot of cases that involve victims. And when you have the COVID numbers that we have, either the victims don't want to come in and meet with us. We have things scheduled that have to get reset. Court gets reset because either a victim, a witness, a defendant, an attorney has COVID. So there are lots of new things that we're having to deal with that I don't think we've ever had to struggle with before. With that being said, we do take every opportunity and everything we can look at to do to try to minimize that. But we are set in that, to try to resolve out our cases, we do have to have some contact in there. And so a lot of our victims don't or have not had the capability or the understanding with Zoom and those types of things. So a lot of ours have been limited to phone contact with some victims, and that's okay. And we're working through and dealing with that. I am highly supportive of Judge Settle's attempt to get mental health court to this county. Over the past year, Sebastian County has gotten a mental health court established, and we have been able to transfer a few cases over there. But my understanding is that they are now at capacity and they're not even accepting any new cases at this time. So to have that opportunity here for our residents here and the victims and the defendants here, I think that would be a great thing. One of the things I mentioned with you last night is that the prosecutor coordinator's office received a grant to have some court therapy dogs also. And so they're trying some of those pilot programs out now. Hopefully in the future, that's something we can look at doing. We do see, in my mind, we have a lot, I think fairly high numbers of sexual assaults within the county, much higher than I would like to have. My hope is that with the therapy dog program, that might help us with some of the victims too, because we do seem to have quite a few child victims in the county. So that's something that we do like to try to focus on and try to do, but that's something down the road that I'd like to see us try to put in place here.
Yeah, Debbie Falbus has the perfect dog for that, Olive. Everyone knows Olive, so she's volunteered to let you use Olive if you need her.
We may be calling her a lot. We may give all our own office here, our own little space here in the office. So
Olive would love to be spoiled by your staff. So
I'm sure Zach would love to have her in his office.
all right, Ryan, our public defender has a different take probably on, everybody comes from a different perspective. So give us a little window into how things look for you coming up this year.
We're still in a holding pattern as far as having people come up to the office. While the courthouse is open, we're still having limited contact with people we're appointed to represent. Most all of our appointments are going on over the phone, and that has reduced our ability. It was always difficult before, but it has reduced our ability to really convey to someone who especially is charged with a felony how the gravity of the situation. And while we're typically the whipping dog because we're giving these people news that they don't like, having it be over the phone or these intermittent appearances in court creates an even further, arm length distance in order to, have that personal contact to communicate what they're looking at. But as of right now, as far as, the safety of the employees here in the office, that's just where we're at. And there's not much more we can do regarding that.
Yeah, I think I think the person to person, several of you mentioned that's a missing element that's really been crucial. So, well, what I'd like to do now is ask each of you more of a specific question about your innovations in your courts and let you, I'd like to just shine a light on how innovative some of you have been in your courts, or you could give us your, hope. What is it that you would like to do that you haven't been able to do? So starting out with Judge Baker, we've been able to talk about the innovation in your court because we've been working with you for a couple of years, really. But give us a little bit of an idea of how you're working with adult ed, the guidance center, probation, how that is working, and do you see some good results in the people that you're, handling in your court?
Darla, if it's okay, I'd like to just make a brief response to that question, and then I'd like for Dr. Falbus to jump in at that point, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
We can bring her up. Sarah can find her.
For those of you who are not familiar with how we do things in our district court, we have 2 probation officers that serve our court. They're actually employees of our court. They're not state probation officers. But when I put somebody on probation for whatever reason, maybe it's to ensure that they don't get in any more trouble. Maybe it's that I've ordered them to take a substance abuse treatment program. It could be that I've ordered them to complete an anger management class. They're all different kinds of things that we order people to do. Our probation officers technically supervise those people, but our adult ed jumps in also and starts asking questions about their employment status and whether they're financially supporting their dependents. What can they do from an educational perspective to get them into a better job, a permanent job, a job with benefits? And so anytime they're able to fit somebody into one of those slots, we count that as satisfaction toward whatever I've ordered them to do, whether it was to pay fines or do community service or alternative service. Going to adult ed and completing those classes counts towards satisfying the court on those things. So that takes out of the mix the people that I would have traditionally been putting in jail or violating because they hadn't done the things that I ordered them to do. It gives them an opportunity to better themselves and their family. Dr. Falbus, can you jump in?
Sure. As a judge said, that's what we try to do, but we also work with hurting their families a lot to get people a place to live. I have a new partner up here, in case you all don't know. Melinda McSpadden has moved on, and we're going to be handing out food up here. We're going to be serving up here. I think Some of the judges are familiar with the Strengthening Families Program that CJS does. Well, we're going to start it at the end of this month. It's going to be in Crawford County instead of in Sebastian County. We're going to have it here on our campus. But I just wanted, and Judge Settle, we wanted to reach out to you. We want to get in your court. We'd like for you all to see what we do and tell you how we can help people. I mean, I'm on the phone this morning trying to get a lady gas. We get, like they do, we get fine places for people to live. Like I said, Melinda McSpadden's a partner with 100 Families. That's what we do. If we get these people food and we get them a place to live and they know somebody cares, we hopefully they won't see you again. That's the whole point. And work on getting all of their other stuff taken care of. I have J.R. Davison here now who can run the records so we can try to get them through the system, because we had so many of them. And I know you all tell them, I'm not saying that, but they're so traumatized. Some of them are, they don't hear what you say. They don't hear that I need to go here and I need to go to this place and this place. So we print it out for them. JR sits down with them and says, this is what you need to do first. This is what you need to do. This is going to get you here. How can we help you do this? So it's on a case by case basis, because we've got a guy here now who's working through drug court. I can't remember his name. And this guy is highly intelligent. I'm just telling you, he just has not had opportunity, and he's getting ready to finish his GED. And hopefully we're going to get all those fines away and get him a job. That's what we do. The whole person, like we were talking about, because if they're standing in front of you and they're living in a car and they don't have food and they're wondering how their kids are going to get, get fed or get clothes or whatever they need, they're not hearing you. So that's what we want to do, is try to help that situation. And I think we're working on it. We work on stuff every day. Judge Baker is phenomenal to work with. I've worked with Judge Medlock for years. And now we're starting to work with Judge McEwen. We're back in the jail again. We're working with the trustees and the regular population. We're proud to be back there. So we want to get these people, when they transition out of jail or when they come back into the community, we want to be able to help them get where they need to be, because the statistics show they're going to go right back in because they don't have any assistance. That's what we're here for. So if you have somebody that you think we can work with, just call us. We'll come down there. Any of us will. We don't have to have this formal thing. And if you need Olive, we can bring her. She'd be glad to be here. I got another one right here today. This is Sassy. So, anytime, we can help you guys, that's what we're here for. It's not just one thing or another, because we never know. You all know my chicken story. So you never know what we can do with anybody. Over the holidays, Jared from Walmart called me. He had some people living in their car. So we're getting them a place to live. But understand, and you all know this, if these people aren't found a place when they do have a job, you're going to see them. They're going to end up in your court before too long, because they're going to be loitering. Something's going to happen and they're going to break the law. They're not going to have insurance. They're going to have a tail light out. They're going to end up with you if we don't get them before they get there. And that's kind of what we try to do.
And you can see her, part of her staff and behind her, and Autumn Grant there you go, JR. And I can't tell with my
Brian, Teresa.
Brian and Teresa. Okay, great. Are all there. And she said exactly the way they work. Whatever you throw at them, they'll find a solution for. So they are very people oriented. And that's why our education and job and employment numbers are so high in Crawford County, is because we have the best adult ed in the state. So
Agree with that.
bar none. Yeah.
We do.
I would like to
you.
follow up, Debbie. What's the ordinance for number of animals allowed in one shelter?
I don't know. I'm in the same building with Judge Baker. You might want to ask him that. I don't think he has a quota.
Oh, me. All right. Well, let's move on. I think, did we lose Judge Medlock? I'm not sure if he had to go back to court. I saw. Okay, we're going to grab him back. We have really enjoyed working with Judge Medlock in both of his DCFS court and his juvenile court. And, Judge, when we can get to you, what are you doing that you don't see judges do statewide? What are some innovations that you think you have thought outside the box on, whether it's just working with different providers or allowing people into the courts like us, or a different way to do business?
I don't have enough time to tell you all that. Well, I have a little bit different approach to DCFS court. Anybody that's on here that's been in my court probably knows that. It's more about problem solving, and I think, again, finding what resources that you can to solve problems is the whole thing, especially with those courts. And when you become more personal, like with all these specialty courts, you become more personal about what somebody really needs and what to try to find to help them. The difficulty a lot of times is the structure that we have to work in through courts sometimes prohibits that. And you have to kind of figure a way around to, know the right question to ask to get the right information, and then, maybe provide the right service. The big thing with you guys now is that we see anything that might possibly be something that you could help us with, we just send everybody to see you. And I mean, that's just kind of pretty much a boilerplate order that we're doing both in juvenile court, both juvenile courts, and give everybody an opportunity to see if there's some way that, there's some aid or something that you guys have to help them. And I'm, like I said before, I hope to kind of continue that. I don't want to belabor that point. But in the sense of differences, problem solving courts to me don't lend themselves to being, I guess, obstructed by a whole lot of rules, regulations, and other legal impediments. And probably that's a little bit different than it is other places.
I think so. I've been able to, even when I was in the legislature, many of our judges from Crawford County were on those committees, and they were looked to for their innovation and their guidance and expertise. And Judge Medlock was always on our child welfare committees. So he's been there for a long time and understands how to make a difference. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Zach, give us just Mr. Throneberry. I shouldn't say Zach, should I?
I've answered to far worse.
Okay. I think I've heard it in drug court. No. I know we're kind of getting short on our time, but how have you changed drug court from the way you did it in the fall to what Judge McCune is doing now? Just give us a little, how does your court run now instead of the way it was, and what results are you seeing?
I think the biggest difference is that it's more personalized with Judge McCune. The first day, I think it was the first drug court he had, he calls roll, and then he comes flying off the bench and comes down there and is walking out through the participants, and they were just kind of taken aback by that. It's trickled into everybody else, and it's brought in more people. It's brought in your organization. Dr. Farbus, Autumn are there every week. Western Arkansas is there. So it's become far more personalized, individualized, and we're trying to respond to these different individuals, whether it be to motivate them or acknowledge them when they do something right, or in things of those natures. So we've just tried to really get to know everybody a little bit better, and which again, it goes back to the problem with COVID and kind of setting us back on that. So because, when they're in drug court, they don't necessarily have a job, but they've got to get a job. We've got to find them housing, which is where you all come in. I know you've helped several of our participants, and Adult Ed has done the same thing. They have to be clean. There are several things that they have to do. And we're working to make that better. I know that we went with Judge Settle the other day, which if we do get a mental health court, that'd be great. But until we get that, we can take what we observed in Sebastian County and try to bring some of that over here. One of the things that we saw that they do that I think we're going to try to start doing is when an individual misses a meeting, we're going to require that they write an apology for why they missed and what they did. And then that goes into accountability and responsibility and, things that we need to be doing. Everybody needs to be doing, ourselves included, our participants need to be doing. And, but the biggest thing I guess I'll get back to is personalization and being individualized responses for everybody.
And are you seeing that can you see that they're sticking with the program better because he has personalized it like he has, or what do you see a difference in just a culture within the drug court?
I would say the culture is the biggest difference. You're always going to have people that are just going to try to slide by and they're eventually going to get caught and they're not going to make it. But as a whole, the attitude has changed. It's far more, I guess, relaxed. It's not as stiff as it has been in the past. People are willing to share. You'll call on somebody randomly and ask them a question, ask them to share. He'll share. I don't know, maybe the guy was just sucking up, but somebody brought Judge McKeon a Razorback tie the other day, because he knew Judge was a big Razorback fan. And so it's the attitude has changed. The environment has changed within the drug court when we meet every week.
Yeah. I was amazed. I think he knows every one of them by name. Of course, he sees them every week. It's a different kind of court, but he'll say, "Oh, Jimmy Sue, I see you're sitting by Dan these days. Are y'all dating?" Or, I mean, and I'm thinking, wow, he's really knows these people well enough to, know when they're changing their behavior, even by where they're sitting in the court. He'll pull them down and congratulate them on being 6 months sober, give them a gift card. Several weeks I've eaten lunch there because he's had pizza for everybody. It's just, it's really different. And I think he's going to see some big results. So let's move on. Judge Settle, I think you've already really been able to give us your vision for the two courts you think you might open up. Is there anything you've left out that you'd like to bring up? Any of your goals or dreams?
Well, I did just want to, Zach mentioned that we had went over to Sebastian County. I have to give kudos to Judge Hendricks over there because she started that program at the mental health court in Sebastian County, and she was kind enough to let us go over and participate in their meeting and then the actual court proceeding with the folks. And so I think it could be really beneficial here. When I took office, I was really shocked at the proportion of drug cases to the whole, there's so many. And I think a lot of that is not just addiction, but also, people self-treating because of mental illness. So that's really my hope and goal for the future. And I appreciate and thank y'all for what you're doing.
Thank you. We look forward to that, and we'll help in any way. Let's see, Sheriff, I want you to spotlight those 2 or 3 programs you're doing, some with adult ed that we're kind of trying to pigtail on, and then the new intervention program that we might bring up, and then anything else you got going on.
Well, as you all know police officers, been around them for your whole careers or your lives. And as a young officer, all I was about was arresting the bad guys, put them in jail. And now my goal is to get them out and keep them out of jail. So that's changed my perspective a lot. We have several programs that we've tried to implement in the past, but the COVID kind of shut us down. But we're and again, everybody goes back to the COVID. But we have a veterans court, which is something that we implemented not long ago, and that is something to give the veterans, keep them out of jail and give them resources for mental health, medical, or whatever else they may need to try to keep them out of jail. We have the GED program, which we've partnered with, again, with Ms. Faubus and her staff and y'all, which seems to be working well. We do that a couple of times a week. Again, it's bringing people in here to do that. We have a workforce development program, which tries to teach them some job skills. So when they get out, they'll have a certificate, or they can attain a certificate and maybe go to some local businesses who are aware of this, and they may be able to give them a position or a job. We have the chaplains. We've started that again. That's shut down for a long time because Mr. Johnny Clayton couldn't get in here because of COVID and all that. But I have 22 new volunteers plus him to come in and try to counsel and give them some resources to do that. I have an A-Chance program that we have, and that is kind of with the juveniles, be in Judge Medlock's kind of area. So if my officers respond to a call that involves a juvenile, we do a report, and that kind of basically goes to the SRO of that jurisdiction and also the principal. And it's a very basic report just to give them some information that we had a contact with a juvenile. And if there's anywhere else that we need to go from there or to help them, we can do that. And it kind of brings them just to the forefront of everybody's mind. What else we got going on? That's kind of basically it. We've got the program. I've got several officers that went to this, what is it? The crisis interventions training. I'm sorry, crisis intervention training. And that's again along the mental health type thing. I've got 6 officers that are already certified in that. And I'm going to send several of my jailers to it. And that will, when they bring during intake or even after intake, if they can observe and have this training to observe these people or see what these people are going through and what avenues that we have to take or we need to take to try to help them out. It's a good course. It's not an easy course. It's not something they just go sit there and get certified. It takes some thinking and some really outside the box thinking, more or less, to try to pass that course. So it's a good course, and I'm planning on sending. I'd like to get everybody certified in eventually, but I'm going to send some jailers, try to get them. So because they have the initial contact other than the officers with these people, and they spend the most time with them, 8 to 10 hours a night with them. So they'll be able to really utilize some of those skills.
So we're going to meet with you next week and some of your officers that are trained and see how we can connect on that initial intake when they identify somebody as, somebody that would be right for our program or Monarch 61 or Adult Ed. I mean, we will have a point of contact at that intake. So I'm excited to see how we can get that program up and running. So we appreciate your openness to and allowing us to participate. So
yeah, anything we can do, and if anybody wants to meet or sit down and talk about some things, I'm more than happy to do that. Thank you all. Thank everybody for what you do.
And you guys just really, really, really don't understand that our sheriff's department is probably the best in the state. I know I say that about every department in my county.
I think so.
But they'll all say that too. And they know the other departments. They know that they're innovating and wanting to do something to show these people that there's other opportunities out there, and that they don't want them back. They want them to get their life together. So
absolutely.
So Rinda, Miss Prosecutor, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You've mentioned a couple things, but I wanted people to hear about something else that you've been instrumental in, and that's in changing some legislation that helps the victims and those that are being prosecuted, maybe closing some loopholes and just, having a function there, changing laws to make things better.
Well, I don't know that we've done a whole lot, but what we have done, one thing we noticed, and as I spoke earlier, is that we do seem to have a lot of sexual assault in Crawford County, and a lot that seems to affect children. So we had a couple of cases that were coming through, and the facts situation only showed those as a D felony, which for those that you don't know, that's the lowest level felony. It's a 6-year maximum sentence with the Arkansas Department of Corrections. And there were some things that were occurring to some of our children in the county that we did not feel warranted that level of just that level. We thought it should be a little stricter. So Detective Jay Baker with Van Buren Police Department came to us about wanting to look at changing the law. So he and I and some of the others in my office worked on that. He got with some of the legislatures to see if that's something they would be open to doing. We worked on drafting up some new definitions, mainly the definition, I believe, of sexual contact. And that strengthened some of the occurrences of sexual assault to a B or C felony rather than the D felony, which of course carries a much stiffer sentence. So those that were being subjected to certain instances and occurrences, we just thought that was a better thing to do. So that's something that I'm very pleased with Jay Baker at the Van Buren Police Department for really kind of getting that going. And of course, we're gonna work to try to help that and do that as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, there's, if there are areas that we can work with you on and help you advocate at the state level with legislation, then we kind of have an arm of Restore Hope that is doing that as well. So if you want to add that to a legislative package, then anything any of you see that is a loophole or a way to strengthen the code, then please let us know, and we'd love to work with you. So Ryan,
We'd
Norris,
certainly do that.
oh yeah. Is there anything unsaid that you'd like to tell us about? Maybe some hopes for how you can innovate through the defender's office, or something?
Well,
what
I would like to see is more of an approach, more of a restorative justice approach to these domestic violence cases. And restorative justice is where a prosecutor, a victim, and the assailant and the defense attorney sit down with either a mediator or a counselor to reopen the lines of communications between the parties that got that got them arrested. And it also, I think, would work great with your organization, because it would allow them to put a plan together and to reach out to different resources to continue remediating or rejuvenating that relationship, especially if they have children, or getting those people away from each other forever. And so I'd hoped to do that last year, but with COVID, that kind of fell off the table. But hopefully this year, if the numbers can get back down, the prosecutor's office would be interested in seeing if their victims are open to that possibility, because what I've seen over the last 13 years is the victimization of the victim stands in the way of people getting on with their lives more than anything else.
Wow. I would love to work on domestic violence, and that was one of my things I advocated for in the legislature. So let's have that conversation. So, well, guys, unless if someone has something else to add, I think, man, we've run the gamut of all of the innovations. I'm sure we've left some things out. You guys are so amazing that I'm sure there's some things still on the table. We'll address those next time, maybe.
I would like, Charlotte, can I say something? Something I'm really excited about is I'm trying to get some of the grant money that the county's gotten for, I call it ESSER funds. But if we can get the Voucher program together, I'm gonna buy Voucher seats to work with Simmons, Beckart, and Pepper Source. I have them on on board, that will be more availability for our people. And I'm really excited about that training. If we can get that, Sheriff, we can do a lot of that even in the jail when we get those seats. So keep your fingers crossed. If you know anybody that's politically connected, when we put our grant in, vote for us. So, I mean, it's not a whole bunch of money, but it sure would help a lot of people. Thank you.
It's
Hey,
a
Debbie,
great program. It's a great program. Oh,
Debbie,
go
are
ahead.
you going to talk to skills development about that?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to ask skills development for a grant for that?
I'm looking in other places right now, Paul.
Okay.
But
Well, let me
if I
know.
don't get this, I might back over to him.
Okay.
And talk to him. Thank you. Yes.
Another partner that's new to our Zoom today, that's going to be a developing a partnership, is Hand to Hand. And we have Veronica Robbins, who's working with Hand to Hand, and I have Lori Lane. I can see her back there as well. And Lori runs the Hand to Hand Foundation at Alma, and they are an arm of, can I say, or an arm of A to Z? I'm not sure what the relationship is, but they want to start a voucher program to help families, individuals that are struggling and just are starting over with nothing. And so they'd also like to have a community service site. So any of you judges or anybody that has a hand in sending people for community service, they would like to mentor, monitor, and have a place for people to work in their facilities. And did I say all that right? Lori, did you want to say anything? Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
They are phenomenal. I want to say that.
There they are.
Okay, can y'all hear us now? Okay, I'm gonna let Lori talk just for a little bit. I did put a message in there just to kind of highlight. We can offer some Saturdays hours for people who may have to work during the week. If we could develop a community service port there where, people can come and do community service on Saturdays also. So, but I'm gonna let Lori go ahead and speak.
Hi, I'm Lori Lane. Actually, here with me is Vice President Pastor James Abbey, which he can better explain it than I can. So go ahead.
We're just offering goods and services to a lot of churches, a lot of organizations. We want to be that helping hand, and we worked with some of you in the past on different things with foster care systems, sent people over and just different things. And we've been able to provide a lot of resources, clothing, food, just different items. And we want to continue to be able to do that. We're growing. We went from just 30 organizations we were working with just a little over a year and a half ago to now over 200 organizations throughout Arkansas. But we do a lot right here in our backyard in Crawford County. We're just excited about our future. We're opening the doors up, the offices up, if people want to meet there, do meetings, so forth. We're starting a Hope for Addictions program and some different things as well. So we're excited about working with y'all as well.
Yes, there are resources there, everybody should shop there. And I go in and buy all my snacks for my grandkids there. And I mean, it's like pennies on the dollar. So just FYI, and I always go ahead.
We kind of like to add on that voucher program. We want to be that resource to where when someone's starting over, we want to make sure everybody understands that it's not something we want to do by age. We want to open for everybody. So if you have a family of 4 that's been broken up, you've got kids in foster care and they're having to start over with a new home, that they can come in, and our goal is to give away 100 vouchers this year at $250 a piece. So if you have a family of 4, that's going to be $1,000. They carry anything from furniture, beds, clothing, anything like that. So we want to be a solution to all these problems. We want y'all to be able to refer them. We need some help on innovating that resource line that it goes through. We just don't want people walking up into hand to hand and saying, hey, I just got out of drug court, I need this, this, and this. We want to be able to take it through a chain to where we know what's going on. So our main goal is to get that going as soon as possible to help everybody, because they can get groceries there, they can, you know, and each individual person will get that $250 voucher. And we're reaching out for more resources to help keep that going. And if we can give more, we will definitely do that.
We love that. We love your heart. And I've seen you involved in so many, you know, events over the year, and the amount of money and resources that you give are tremendous. Do I have anybody else on the Zoom that would like to mention something that they have that's innovative? Mayor Baxter, I know you've got some news about your juvenile facility that may be coming to Mulberry. Is that something you'd like to speak to, or?
Sure. Yes, thank you. We're working with the Comprehensive Juvenile Services to relocate the youth shelter that is at Cecil to Mulberry. And the old Dollar General store at Mulberry has been donated to CJS. The Palmer family donated that building. And so they have a donated building, and we're really looking forward to servicing those youth. There's going to be 8 beds for boys and 8 beds for girls. And we're all about trying to keep youth out of the criminal justice system and trying to keep them on board. So we're really looking forward to that. Yes, thank you.
That's going to be a great asset for our county to have that close by. So we appreciate your efforts in Mulberry to innovate and all the things that you do there. Your food bank is one of the best in the state again, and we love working with you guys. Monarch 61, if you're on the call, I don't know whether I've got someone from there or not, but if you have women that need mentoring, are downtrodden, have lost hope, this is the best resource, again, statewide, that I've ever seen for helping women reconnect with, hope. So Monarch 61 in Van Buren on 28th Street, back there behind Road Chevrolet. So I don't see them on here, but the people that we have referred there have just, they have found such encouragement there. So anyone else need a shout out? Paul, do you have an ending word for us?
No, I think given the troubles both that our collective clients have and that COVID's presenting, I think this group is going to make the best of it in 2022. We look forward to being a part of it with you and seeing, I would say, when there's trouble in your own backyard, sometimes it's hard to care about other people's backyards. But the things that y'all are doing actually are happening in other parts of the state too. So like what Dr. Falbus and her crew and Judge Baker have done. There's been a lot of information shared in other parts of the state. The alternative sentence or community diversion programs are there. So anyway, thanks much for the way that y'all serve your community, and it makes your community better, but it's also helping other communities in the state.
I did want to give a shout out to Tara Watkins at DCFS. They are innovating there and trying to be proactive about finding those families that are in crisis and helping them to, find those fixes to their crisis before their family is separated. So, Tara,
hey, Charlotte, on that, I'd say the data proves out. So just the strength of the family, of the community coming together to try to work together to provide help shows in your child welfare cases, because you have a lot more protective services cases than you do removals. I've heard judges and law enforcement officers tell me over the years, they've said, you know, we've always had discretion, but we've never had options. And if you can provide options, and all of a sudden, you know, the authorities can start to use discretion when they think that, you know, the risk to public safety is mitigated now. And you're seeing that just in your statistics in Crawford County. So the community's providers, you know, through the 100 Families Alliances and all that the individual members there are doing, have provided some options. Now the agencies are able to exercise some discretion.
So I call her Tara because she was one of my students at Van Buren. So
I just want to say thank you so much. That means a lot. It's been a really rough few weeks here. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, you guys are amazing and really a shining light to the state about how you are changing the culture and your emphasis on how you do business. It's really revolutionary statewide. So again, we have the best. So Crawford County is blessed. This is my last Alliance meeting. I am retiring. And that's a joke around people that know me, because they think I'll never retire. I'll find something else to do. But my grandchildren have told me that they have plenty of jobs for me. So I have, it's been amazing to be a part of seeing Crawford County just rise to the challenge and be innovative and amazing. And I'll still be here as a resource to help in any way I can, but we'll have a new coordinator at the end of February, and I'm looking forward to encouraging whoever that is and helping them be the best that they can be. So thanks to everybody for all you've done and the encouragement you've given me, and help me to enjoy my retirement. So thank you. If that's it, we'll close down the meeting.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Charlotte. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Guys too.
Paul, it's good to see you.
That's good to see you too. I'll have to get up there and hug your neck here soon.
Soon, yes. I think about you every morning almost. I drive to work. I think, feels funny not calling Paul every morning.
Well, you need to go on and call me.
Okay.
Hey, we're about to have puppies here. I'll send you some pictures. As a dog lover, you'll love that.
Let me get her. Where is she? Hey, Paul, I want to show you one of my new ones. I got two here today.
You were
Not
small
all
on
of
the
them.
screen. I couldn't tell if you had
This is one of
dogs or
our
cats.
new puppies right here.
Oh, okay.
She's a Yorkie. This is Gracie. She's about 12 weeks. So anyway, I brought different ones today.
I couldn't tell what kind of animals were in the background, chinchillas or
well, the other ones are pretty
maybe
big
rabbits.
animals. These are two-legged animals.
That's good to see y'all.
Come
Kim,
visit. Good to see you.
Kim, are you
Going
still
to.
on there? I didn't give you a chance to tell about your opening in February. Did you get off? We'll spotlight her in February because
Okay.
We have the resource center that's about to be a huge community development.
Yeah.
So,
And
all right,
remember we have business after hours. It's Tuesday at 5:15 here at the resource center. So if you're in town, Paul, come see us.
Do.
All right. See y'all. Have a good
See y'all.
weekend. Bye.